Hey guys, welcome to this lecture in which we're talking about basic values and color. Yep, after polishing quite a bit, like the rough sketch that we started with, I immediately proceeded to just simply lay in some really basic values, like I choose like a very dark gray, and using the opacity thing, I just simply lay in some values here and there. I just created like a new layer, and I'm just darkening everything, especially when it's about, if I know this is going to be a dark scene, then I'd rather make everything darker than it's going to be, and then I will use brighter colors to kind of bring up the lighting, here and there. At this point, I was not sure what the lighting was going to be like in my entire scene, but I always tend to go for the basic rules of, the fundamentals of values, which is basically that objects that are closer to the camera tend to be darker, basically because of, if we take into account, of course, the atmospheric perspective and everything, which I intend to get a lot of that in here, like a lot of dust floating in the air and stuff like that, because when the light shines through that, it brings in this nice cinematic effect that I like a lot. It provides you with that depth effect, So here, for instance, you can see me kind of making some notes on how I would like everything to flow in the scene. I have those lines in there, which are, I think we mentioned this in the previous episode about how I'm trying to make everything flow. I'm trying to guide the eye through the image, and I think we can definitely improve that with the values. So there's several ways to do this, that's for sure. In my case, I decide to start in black and white first and then go with color because it's easier for me. I'm not quite there like other people who can see the values so accurately straight away in color. So I believe that you should first nail the values before you go with color. But if you're really up there already, just feel free to start an experiment straight away. Sometimes I don't do it like this either. Sometimes I just go straight into values. I kind of skip the line drawing part. Sometimes I really need it. Sometimes I don't know. I think it really depends on each case, But yeah, let's try to flow with the scene and what the current project demands. You'll figure that out with experience, I guess. And don't worry, just think of this as a thing that this is digital, right? There's no way to mess this up. You can always create a copy and save the previous one, just in case you mess up. You can always create like a new layer. And see, for instance, right now, I made this character onto a new layer, just in case I mess something up, right? So I can then always move it around if I need to, if I bring it like closer to the camera. But anyway, the character won't be something that I'll be focusing on this early onto the image, because let's face it, the protagonist here is not necessarily our hero, but that entrance right there up on the hill. So what I'm trying to think about here is like some quick pose for the character, like he's walking towards that cave entrance. He has a sword. According to the designs that we made previously, all those sketches, I'm trying to kind of respect that, and they really helped me figure out what this guy looks like. But see here, I'm kind of trying to get rid of the line drawing. Some people, kind of paint on top of the lines and that's it. Some people just erase that layer because they polish the other layers so much that you no longer need the line drawing, so you can just keep going with it. In my case, I think I'm gonna keep it for a little longer because I still haven't figured out. See, now I'm kind of darkening everything, but that very specific place right there, which is not entirely accurate, as you will see, I'll try to figure out a way to fix that, because even though the lines are kind of pointing to the cave, the values are kind of, drawing your attention away from it. As you can see, I'm actually pulling the attention like somewhere in the middle of the image, like on the center of the image. So here I am creating like I'm making this character look like closer to the camera. As you can see, this changes a lot more, like the composition a little bit, like it has a much more evident presence. And then I'm hiding it because I really want to not let it distract me, and so I can focus on the whole environment. And then if I have to bring back my character and it's kind of not fitting very well with the rest of the image, then I can just paint a little bit like under it, If, for instance, like there's some values mixing in there, like if there's some tangents and stuff like that that are kind of unpleasant to the eye, I can just fix that real quick. So once I get all these things figured out, at least partially, right? Because at this point, I'm not entirely sure what this is going to look like. But of course, like every other process, you just got to keep going to figure it out. So I start by laying in some color in there. I'm using a multiply layer because I've seen it, other artists doing it this way. I usually do overlay or maybe color, but I prefer overlay. It's a little bit tricky, because if you choose like a color that's the color that you choose if you use overlay has to be around in the mid range of values. A little bit lower, it gets too dark. A little bit higher, it gets too bright. So I think it's cool. I would also compare it to color dodge a little bit, which is more like used to enhance like light effects. But in this case, I'm using multiply because I wanted to try this method, and honestly, I like it. But I realized that you have to always use like the very brightest tones of the whatever hue you're trying to get in there. And what's cool about having them on a separate layer is exactly what you're seeing right now, which is that I can easily manipulate the whole range of color with that slider. You just press Control U on your keyboard and that panel shows up, and then you move the slider and you try and find some other possibilities. So in my case, I was going for this green kind of tone because I like the toxic kind of connotations of this color. And here I am using like some brighter values in there. I'm trying to make it look like something's glowing down there. And you'll see, because each of these steps kind of get you closer to the final result in terms of figuring out the little details that you couldn't see before, like in the main sketch and the initial sketches. Because there's one thing to see it in your head, to imagine it, and there's another thing to kind of see it in reality. It changes a lot. As you move throughout the project, you figure out more stuff, and you realize there are certain things that would not work the way you expected, and there are some things that will actually work even better than you expected. So in my case, I'm trying to go here for a different kind of lighting. As you see, I imagined in the beginning that this was going to be lit by by sunlight. Like if you guys remember, like the first sketches, the black and white sketches we did, they were clearly like captured during the day. You know, there was like daylight in there, and in this case it's like a almost like a dark, very dark night scene, right? And as you can see, I'm trying to make it look like there's some like a glowing liquid, and I'm trying to make it look like there's a river kind of pouring out of there. And this not only enhances the perspective, but I think it also drives a little bit more like the story. Like there's something toxic coming out of that cave. So once we have all these things kind of laid in, like the basic values, the basic color, we can actually move on to improving both of them all together. So I'll see you guys in the next video.